Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, I'm Johnny Chivers, and in today's video we're going to take a look at AWS Strands, which is a new SDK from AWS that helps us build an agentic experience utilizing the power of foundational models. In this video, I'll talk a little bit about what the Strands SDK is from AWS. Then we're actually going to build an agentic experience that will go into your Gmail box, scan your Gmail box for subscriptions, and then give you recommendations and summarizations about the subscriptions that you hold to things such as Netflix, Disney, HBO, Amazon, and so on and so forth. For this, there is a few prerequisites. You will need an AWS account. That kind of goes without saying. You will also need the AWS CLI installed so you have a profile on your local machine that lets you reach AWS. For this demo, we're going to go fully agentic, fully foundational model. I am going to vibe code the entire thing using the Amazon Q CLI for developers. I'll show you how to install this once we start, but if you're using something else for your agentic experience, be that the likes of Cursor or Windsurf, you can do exactly the same thing as well. If you're brand new to any of this, including coding, I have put all the code as a finished product up on GitHub, which you can just download as well. Before we dive into the actual demo and the experience itself and how you build this, let's do a little bit of chat about what AWS Strands SDK is. So in the world of agentic AI, for the last kind of 2 years, 3 years with foundational models, when we have multiple foundation models, we've been building agents over the top of them, and these act as orchestration tools. They tell the foundational models what to do, when to do it, and in what order. However, over the last kind of 2.5 years, 2 years, we've been going on this generative AI journey. The models, the underlying foundational models, be those from Amazon, be those from Meta, the likes of Llama, be those from Anthropic, the Claude models, OpenAI, are getting better and better with each release, particularly when it comes to the reasoning models and the thinking models. What we're starting to see in the agentic world is rather than these very complex orchestration programs at the agent level, we're pushing the decision making and the orchestration back down onto the foundational model. AWS Strands helps you with this process by creating pre-built libraries with tooling that lets you hook in foundational models, be them in AWS Bedrock like we're going to use today, or other models that you want to hook into such as Llama, or even models that you may host locally. This pushes some of the agentic orchestration back down onto the model. So rather than spending days writing lines of orchestration code and getting really specific in what you want the agent to do, you actually push this back down into the foundational model using Strands. So in this example, I'm going to use the Amazon Nova Pro model. I'm going to create a Gmail subscription agent that can reach into my Gmail account via an API, but actually the orchestration, how to carry out the process, is going to be left to the model that can think its way through. So I'm going to give it a set of tools such as like email subscription, how to parse the email, and then the model is going to use Strands as the agentic experience to work out how it orchestrates itself with some guidance in plain English from me. What this is doing is enhancing the speed at which we can get to market for our agents. So instead of taking months to build an agent with all this complicated code, we can actually just launch an agent in a matter of minutes, maybe days if you really want something production ready, and then we can iterate over that design, letting the Strands SDK do the heavy work by pushing the orchestration back down under the foundational model, well, rather than writing lines and lines and lines and lines of code. Okay, before we jump in and actually see this in action with all the bells and whistles, we need a little word from our video sponsor. Vyog is a generative AI video platform that lets you create stunning B-roll footage for your marketing campaigns, YouTube videos, or social media. You can just type in a prompt and then use the enhance feature to help you craft a prompt specific for the model that you're trying to create the 6-second video out of. The video will be created in a matter of minutes. It's yours copyright free to download. It is a token-based subscription service, so you only pay for what you use. The link to Vyog, which lets you create stunning B-roll 6-second videos, is in the description below. Please go check it out. Okay, with that being said, let's jump onto the AWS console and build this Gmail subscription agent. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to vibe code this entire thing using the Amazon Q Developer CLI. So prerequisites, I have installed the Amazon Q Developer CLI. If you have not, it is available on AWS. You can just type in AWS CLI Q Developer into Google. And like any good Google hit, it'll tell you how to install it. So I have it installed. That's all I've done so far. You will also, at some point, we will need to hook in our Gmail account into this app. To do that, we will use GCP, Google Cloud. Now, that'll come through our Gmail account, so you will need your Gmail account, obviously, for this to even work, because it's a Gmail subscription agent, so you need Gmail. So with that said, you should have those two prerequisites. The other thing is that I'm using a default AWS profile on my CLI. So I have a default profile installed on my CLI. It is there already. There are plenty of videos on YouTube how to do this. So if you don't have a CLI install for AWS, then go watch one of those videos. So what's interesting as well about Strands, although it's a local agentic experience or an agentic experience away from Bedrock, you can actually install it as an MCP server as the documentation. And this is kind of important for what I'm about to do because it will help my Amazon Q developer CLI understand the do's and don'ts of Strands. So I'm going to create this file. If you're using another agentic code editor, something added into Visual Studio, or if you're using Klein, or if you're using something like Windsurf or Cursor, there are instructions on this page as well of how to do that, but I am going to use this. So let's create this file first. So touch the file, so we create it. Then I'm going to go into Vim. Yep, I'm going to go into Vim. You heard me. Let's get rid of that and open that up in Vim. Then I want to take this information here, and I want to hit I for the insert mode. I want to copy and paste that. I want to hit colon. Oh no, I want to hit escape to get out. I want to hit colon. I want to hit WQ to save and exit, and then we want to check that. Run that for me, and you can see that it's there. So let's clear this. Okay, as I mentioned, I do have Amazon Q developer CLI. It's such a mouthful already installed. So I can just run Q chat, and that'll start my session. You can see that I have a Strands MCP server, which I just put into the file. It's ready to go, and this chat window is now open to help me build the code. What I also probably want to do actually is navigate or tell you that I've actually navigated to the right place. So right now, I'm not actually sure where I am. That's always good. Hang on, let's exit this first. It's quitting the session. LS, where am I? Okay, so actually the first thing I want to do is go to code. Then I want to go to a folder that I've already created. I'm going to create everything in. So AWS Strands is actually where I want to go. So that's fine. By LS, there's nothing but a README. Perfect. Let's clear this all up. So I'm now in AWS Strands, and now let's run the chat session. So Q chat, and that'll open up Amazon Q in this location for me. This is the prompt I'm going to let Q developer CLI run with to create all my code and everything I need. You can see that it's a Gmail subscription agent. It lets me audit and cancel subscriptions. I've told it has access to the MCP server, and I have told it that I wanted to use Amazon Nova as my LLM or foundational model to actually do the stuff with Gmail. I've told it all the dependencies that I want. I've told it how to configure Strands, that I want to use the Nova Pro model. I've said that I wanted to use the default CLI for authentication. I've told it what I'm looking for in Gmail. So these are all the things that it should look for in my Gmail account to actually figure out what I have. You can add more if you want. I've also told it the tools that I want. I've told it I want a CLI interface. So we're just creating a CLI app that we can interact with. And then I've given an example of what the demo kind of output should be as well. I should also say at this point when we create it, it should then prompt this for our Gmail information so we can actually interact with the Gmail API. Don't worry if none of that makes sense. Essentially, we're just going to copy the script in and vibe code until it works. If you don't have an editor, I should say like this, all the code is on the GitHub as well. So you can just download the GitHub and run the setup.sh script to install everything. You don't have to do this. But again, I think it's kind of cool if we look at both how we can agentically code an agent itself with agentic AI using GenAI to build a subscription model for Gmail to look at all the subs I have. Weird, but we're using AI to do agentic AI to do AI. So let's copy this. So we have the full prompt that I want to put in, and I'm just going to paste it in. I'm not even going to bother with anything else. and we're going to send it off and running. So it's thinking about how to do this. It's going to actually feed back to me what it thinks it should do. Yeah, we're just going to let it trust everything here. So hit TD always allow, TD always allow, and I'm going to let it do this as well. So we're going to get going. Okay, it's off and running. So it wants to know what to do. It's going to create the project the way I want it to be created. Yes, you can do this. Then it's going to work from there. So we should start to see the project directory being created. I've left Visual Studio open for us so we can look at it as we go as well. But again, this is just being created from the CLI here. It's saying, okay, I'll create all these files for us. So if we look at all the files, they'll start to be created. Perfect. It's now setting up a script for the virtual environment, installing dependencies, and checking for AWS credentials. Because this is the free version of Q CLI, it is a little bit slower than if it's a paid for one. So I will pause the video and then let it build things in between. I've done this already, and with a bit of debugging, I created over 2,000 lines of code, I think, in about, including the README, I should say, in about 20 minutes, including debugging, and everything was working. So should take us less than 20 minutes to create these things. So yeah, we're going to let it do that. Again, I'm not going to read this. I'm actually just going to say and accept everything until we know it's ready, because I can see it doing the actual stuff over here. So you can see it creating the files it needs. You can see it creating the requirements it needs, so on and so forth. So there's it creating the requirements file. Yep, we'll allow that. So if I look at the requirements file, it's now got the things it needs. Important point, actually, while we're waiting, is that the Strands agents and tools are the imports. So if you look on the GitHub, you can see that they are required to run Strands. Strands is going to run locally in this case, and then we are going to build the agent locally and just run it locally off my desktop. We'll wait a couple of minutes, and then we will come back to the video. Again, we just want to accept this. This is all fine. This is it starting to create the code, as you can see. So creating the code is the longest part of any kind of agentic experience at the moment. So it's creating the Gmail scanner. Again, I'm just going to let it run through all this. I'm not going to read it. We'll debug it on the other side if there's an issue. I think I've had a couple of issues with date time fields. So if that comes up, then we'll just debug it as we run the app. Again, I'll just keep pausing the video while this is thinking, because we don't want to sit for 30 seconds in between the things. I should say, at the end of the day, even though I'm sitting for 30 seconds, that's a lot quicker than me typing 366 lines of code. Lets me get on with other things, like reading the documentation, for example, and then I can actually check what the agent is outputting as we go. And again, it's created 337 lines of code this time, and that is for the subscription analyzer. I'm just going to accept this again. I'm not really going to read any of this. If you want to have a look, you could go into Visual Studio Code as it creates the files, and you can see what it's looking for and what it's not looking for. Categories, things that it's going through for the subscriptions, free trial, trial ends, trial will end, trial expires, trials, currency amounts. You can see it kind of building everything that it needs. You can see it's also looking for Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, HBO, Prime, Tidal, Sling, and so on and so forth. And then this time it's created 258 lines of code. This looks like a series of tools for the agent. Yeah, it's creating the agent file. Again, I'm not going to read this. I'm just going to accept it because I'm vibe coding. And then you can see in here that the agentic code has been created for the agent, and then the @tool has been used. That's correct on the documentation, because I've been through the documentation several times. But that's why it's really important that you know the documentation when you're vibe coding, and then you can check back these things. Otherwise, you're kind of flying blindly, and you also need to keep an eye on the agent when it's creating things for you on your behalf. And when I mean agent, I mean the Q developer CLI in this instance, because you need to make sure the code's correct. So you're very much like orchestrating everything and overseeing it. You're just not physically typing it, so it takes out that period of time. This is really where I see the future of coding, where we're essentially sitting telling what code to output, and we're checking that output. We're no longer typing the individual lines of code. To type 258 lines of code would have took me, I don't know, 20 minutes to get it working, maybe longer. But instead, I'm going to build this entire app, which is thousands of lines of code, in 20 minutes, even though I am waiting in between and reading documentation. That is the trade-off. But I'm 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 10 times more productive doing it this way. So this is creating the run file for us now that will let us enter as an app starting point. And again, these are all things that make the code nicer and easier to run. And then next, it has created a couple of things, I think, including the README. So let's just accept all that. Keep going. Okay, so it thinks it's successfully done it. So the project structure, the key components, Strands agent, yep, interface, run.pli, setup script is there as well. Features are implemented, and then I need to run the app basically to start. Okay, so let's go shell, new window. Let's make this quite big as well because you're going to need to see this as we go. I want to keep the CLI tool, the dev tool open on the other window because we'll probably need to debug some stuff. So I want to go into my code folder. I want to go to my code. I want to go into Strand agents. That's exactly where I want to be. I want it ls. I want to cd into the Gmail like that, and then I want to run the file. So just run setup.sh, and it will run. Now, what will not happen is after this, we'll have to do the Gmail install. So it should tell me that I need to do the Gmail part to give it the API access, but let's see. So right now I'm installing all the dependencies in the virtual environment. As you can see, credentials find CLI. There's the setup instructions for Gmail. Okay, so let's go to the GCP console like this. Oh, that didn't work at all because I've obviously copied too much. Yep. Let's create a new project. So if you go up here, you can go new project. I'm going to call this one, hit the wrong button. New project. I'm going to call this YouTube API Gmail. Everything else could be left with default. Make sure you're on a Chrome browser. It just makes everything way easier when you're doing this. So this is the project being created up here. Again, if you're using Gmail, you'll need to have this kind of account. So this only works with Gmail. Okay, so now I have the project selected. I need to go to API. So if I click on API and services, that'll get me there. Then I want to enable API and services. Then I want to look for the Gmail API and service, which is here. I want to click on the Gmail API and service, and I want to click enable. So again, don't worry too much about this. I'm essentially just getting a Gmail API that I can use to auth into my Gmail with. That's all I'm doing through this. There's nothing really more to it, so just follow along if you're trying to set this up yourself. So that is it set up. Then what I need to do now is create credentials that allow my application to OAuth in and then enter my Gmail account. So I create credentials by hitting create credentials. It did this earlier actually. I had a few problems, so I just kept hitting retry and eventually it worked. Pretty strange. Okay, we're going to use user data and then we're going to go next. My app name, we can give this anything, so I'm just going to call it API YouTube. That doesn't make any sense. YouTube Gmail. Support email should be my email. App logo does not matter. This should be your email, so everyone knows my email, so there's no point in me hiding it. Let's go save and continue. Oh. Ooh. Your app name does not comply. Why does that not comply? Oh, there you go. You can't have YouTube in it. So, that's fine. API, app, desktop. Call it that. Save and continue. You learn something new every day. Scopes are all fine. Just save and continue. Application type, desktop app. That's really critical. We'll call it desktop client 1. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. And then you want to download the credentials. So make sure you download that file. The easiest way to put it in then is to go to your downloads. So again, I'm going to just do this simply by going to my downloads. So go to your downloads folder. That's not the right one. This is the right one. You will have the file that you've just downloaded and drop it into your project. Config. Okay, we're just going to copy and paste it. I'm going to be lazy. Copy, paste. Then what we need to do is change the name. It does tell me on not that one, this one. So we do need to change the name. It should be called the credentials.json file. So change the name, rename, Control A to get rid of everything, and enter credentials.json file. And then it tells you what to do next. So you need to run the setup file, which we've done. Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong one. Now it tells me what I need to do next. So let me blow this back up and out of the way. Let me grab the actual one that we're running currently. So you can see that we've done that. And then we need to run this to start our virtual environment, which should be as easy as that. And then we need to run the app and it will start. Maybe a bug, but we'll figure out the bug as we go. So we're going to run. It's going to ask me to auth into my Gmail account. allow. Auth flow has created, and now it's off and running. So if any bugs, we'll get a printout here, but the application's often scanning my Gmail for the last 365 days to find out what's going on. So let's see what comes back. Okay, you can see that it's starting to find the subscriptions for me and the billing when not applicable. It's giving me a summarization of my output. It's going, it's still going. It's telling me lots of information here. So let's have a little look at what's going on. So it's finding stuff out. So that one's okay. It's got me another subscription, 2-minute email update. It's got PayPal stuff that it's looking at. More PayPal stuff that it's looking at. Stripe account used by the Question Bank was one of my old projects. That's all fine as well. And so on and so forth. So you can see that it's just going and telling me things about this as we go. Things that I can save on, things that I don't need to save on, and I'm just going to stop the app now because it's going on. So you can ask it to do things for you. You can build it in different ways. You can ask it different questions. And I vibe coded this entire thing, don't forget. So this is an agent working on my behalf by calling the Nova Pro model from Bedrock and then searching my Gmails and asking it to do different things. And if you wanted it to do different things, you could just ask it here. You could say, build me summarizations, build me text outputs, build me tables, build me something else for my Gmail, build me draft responses to my wife or whatever you want to do, or husband or partner, build me draft responses to my child's school so I don't always have to reply. The world is your oyster now. You can literally just start to ask it to do things. So join me off the console and we'll have a chat about what we've done through this process. Okay, folks, that's us done. Quite a lot that we got through during that vibe coding session. I hope you enjoyed the vibe coding to see how I use the Amazon Q CLI. It's a very powerful tool when it comes to building AI or generative AI or even AWS infrastructure in AWS. We actually built an agent using AWS Strands. We hooked that agent into the Bedrock service to make use of the Amazon Nova Pro model. Then using the Google Cloud, we created a Gmail API that let our agent reach into our Gmail, pull out the emails for subscriptions, and then start telling us information about what we are actually subscribed to and how we might save money. This is just one example of where I see agents going, where we have personal assistants helping us in our everyday life. We are still very early in the agentic and generative AI hype cycle and curve. This is here to stay. This is the future. I think everyone really needs to take some time and look at it. I'll make more videos available for free on my YouTube channel, so I really appreciate a like and subscribe as I help guide you through this new world. And until next time, folks, thanks for watching.